Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Can everyone hear me? Let me put this louder.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. It's 5:59. It's at 6 o'clock. We're going to start at 6:03 to give people time to come in. I see we have um DEO here. I'm looking, and so Adrian, you'll know when to come in. We have our um Comerica Bank representatives. Thank you so much. See my staff. So we have we have at least 30 people registered. So I'm going to just give just about 3 minutes.
Hey, it may be working now. We'll see how long this lasts. Up, and then it went back.
I saw you. I saw you though. I'm going to test my um
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Goodwill, I'm just now reading the email. You wanted us to say something during the
I definitely will. And
presentation?
yes, and it will be very, very clear. It will be very, very clear when you come. In fact, it's the second slide.
Oh, we have a slide.
You know I'm on it. You know I'm on it.
Now,
I don't leave it
now,
up to
Goodwill,
chance.
now, on it would have been sending me that slide beforehand. Now,
Well, no, I had to perfect it. No, no, no. It
let
was
me see,
good.
because we
It's
were just here in a observation capacity, just to observe.
you know better. You know better than that. Let me stop my it's 6:01. I'm going to start at 6:02. And my staff, would you be so kind, Natalia and Jasmine, to go? I'll let you guys let people in, so I won't be distracted by that. If you see people, just go ahead and admit them, please. Can I get some feedback on how my slide presentation looks? It's doing something live instead of how I'm used to doing it. So, kids, did you see it? Can you see me move or transition?
We can.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Well, it looks really pretty. I got this new Mac Power book because my staff was hazing me for a year or so. So it's the third day it's being used, and I'm so glad it's working. So it's 6:02, um, and we will begin in 1 minute. People are steadily coming in. Thank you. So in the chat, there is a survey, Harris County Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity Student Survey. Um, and um, and so if you can please uh, um, do that survey, I'm going to put it in the chat again so that everyone can you can do it during or definitely afterward. You'll be mailed it, but if you can do it now, that way I won't have to chase you down to get you to do the survey. So I'm going to put it in the chat again. And this survey is in Spanish and English. Well, I don't even see my, I'll tell you what, I'm going to send it to you guys, to my team. And you guys, please put it in there because I don't see where I can do it. Okay, we're going to start now. My name is Goodwill Pierre, and I'm so glad that you can join us. This is our virtual Get Ready workshops week one, powered by Harris County Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity, otherwise known as DEEO. We got an exciting workshop for you. It's called Business Basics. and business readiness and fundamentals. And it's designed to prepare you for the upcoming April 17th Pathways to Prime MWBE Procurement Forum and Empowerment Workshops. And that's powered by Harris County Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity, and it's managed by Success in Business. And so I want to make sure, can we put our phones, can we put everything on mute, please? I can hear background. So, Pathways to Prime, the aim is to increase MWBE participation in Harris County procurement opportunities by providing technical assistance, training, certification, and bonding support. And we have joined, I'm so excited they took the time out to join us, is representative from Pathways to Prime. Adrian, would you please say a couple of words and welcome everyone to the presentation?
Sure will. Thank you, Goodwill. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Adrienne Bolden. I am the Assistant Director for Stakeholder Engagement and Strategic Programs here for the Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity. We are so glad to have you all here tonight to be able to partake in this Get Ready workshop for the main forum that'll be happening on April the 17th, and really excited about being able to provide you with the support to help grow your small business. So welcome.
I want to thank DEO for making this possible. Without them and without their support financially, as well as assisting us functionally and how we do things and helping us master the maze, you'll know what that is in a couple of weeks. We wouldn't be here. So I thank you so much for everything that you do. A little bit about myself. You see that there. I'm a lawyer, and founded Success in Business, as well as I have operate three other businesses as well. And this is my world as far as building capacities for small, disadvantaged, women-owned businesses. And I've been doing this for about 20 years. Now, I'm ready to jump into it. This is going to be business basics. There's going to be a lot of time for you to ask questions. Quite a few business owners, um, quite a few business owners have when we do these workshops and forums, they come in and either they don't know some of the basic from a definition perspective or vocabulary, or they create entities and they go about their way of trying to get government contracts and they start off wrong. So the purpose of this, we're going to go into the purpose of this very, very shortly, but in everything that I do, I always have a safety moment, something that you can reflect on. And the safety moment for this presentation is mental health matters. Now, is the screen big enough for everyone to see?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in today's world, safeguarding your mental health is just as important as physical activity. Between job losses, business uncertainty, economic stress, and the lingering effects of COVID, many people are carrying heavy, invisible burdens. And so, one of the mental health signs that exists, I mean, how do you know that you're suffering? Sometimes you may not know. And most people, and I would say my family, they just go through things. So it's persistent sadness or confusion, trouble concentrating, COVID brain, everyone's heard that now, mood swings or increased irritability, withdrawal from others, and substance misuse or risky behavior. Those are some of the signs that you should look out for. If something doesn't feel right, speak up. It's not weakness to ask for help, it's a strength. And if someone you trust tells you that they notice a change in you, listen with an open heart. You are not alone. Help is available. Let's look out for ourselves and one another. Harris County has quite a few resources. That's the Harris County Public Health, and that link is there. Everyone will have access to not only this recording, but they will have access to the links, Harris County Center for Mental Health and IDD, as well as NAMI of Greater Houston. They have free services available, the different things you can read to assist you with mental health. So please, let's look out for our own mental health and the mental health of the ones we love. Why Get Ready workshops? As I stated earlier, to help participants maximize their opportunities at the Pathways to Prime event on April 17th, 2025. The virtual sessions designed to equip businesses with the functional knowledge, marketing strategies, and procurement insights needed to secure government contracts. In the end, you'll have a list of our other titles. Um, well, right here, there's some other titles. We have two more. And the whole idea is you have to be registered for the April 17th event to take advantage of these Get Ready workshops. I have staff members reviewing the registration list and reviewing those people who are here, might have gotten it forwarded. If you're not on the registration, you have not registered, they will communicate to you individually and ask you to register, or they will disconnect you. So please make sure that you're registered for the April 17th event. Tonight, what are our objectives? This is what I'm hoping that you will get from this Get Ready workshop. And I'm excited. There's plenty of time to ask questions. And there's so much stuff that it's going to sound like I'm going fast. I'm going to try not to. And we also have other voices here who can give you certain insights to the things that they offer. And so I can't wait to hear them speak. So understanding differences between business structures, LLC, corporations, etc. Set up financial records and business banking. Learn about tax ID, DUNS, and SAM registrations, business certifications. We're going to just do a quick deep dive in that and answer those questions you were afraid to ask in public. And then we're going to briefly talk about trademarking, protecting your business and brand. That's one of my specialties, and I never have a fundamental workshop where I'll talk about protecting your brand and why is that important. Okay, so first, understanding business structures. Sole proprietor, LLCs, corporate, and what's that's best for in government contracts prefer LLC. So I'm going to break it down to you, but in the global high level sense, as a sole proprietor, think about you're just in the street, you're unhoused, you have no protection from the elements. It's just you're vulnerable, and that means that when you're contracting with somebody or with an entity. And quite a few people who are self-proprietors do get government contracts. But if something goes wrong, they will go after you personally. You have no protection, no insulation. It's the least favorite thing. While it's very easy to go to the Harris County clerk and get an assumed named, otherwise DBA, excuse me, it's not preferred because you have no protection and no safety, no insulation. Limited liability company is a corporate structure that gives you that level of security. It's an insulation. As long as you act within your corporate structure, you are safe. No one can sue you personally for things a corporation does. It's easy to set up, easy to manage. The cost to file is very, very simple and cheap compared to a corporation. Think about, and Jazz, you can interrupt and tell me I can't think about it, but $350 for the filing fee, I believe. They might have went up this year. Corporations are also another mechanism to insulate and protect yourself, but it's more structured, more formal. Government contractors prefer LLCs or corporations versus a sole proprietor. So let's dig deeper into those different things, okay? This is something you may not have had an opportunity to hear this or hear this, but I wanted to take some time to really share with you the differences of each one, okay? And now first to talk about what the different breakdowns of limited liability company. So, or we start with corporations. So corporations, you begin with the actual formation. So when you file a corporation, you have a certificate of formation. Now, I hear this all the time. Most people have what they get back, certificate of filing. When you take that to a bank, and Nikki is here representing Vice President of Comerica Bank. She's going to also talk when we talk about the finance part and open a bank account, but you can just dive in whenever you want to, Nikki. They want to see the certificate of formation. They want to see the stamped copy of the certificate of formation. I hear it all the time. I got a certificate of filing. Why can't they use that? Well, that's good, but they also want a certificate of formation. Okay. Now, also, you should know that when you When you have a corporation and you got certificate filing, you have what's also called governing documents. Now, for a corporation in Texas, this is called bylaws. Bylaws don't need to be filed. Bylaws are your own internal rules that help you manage day-to-day activities, as well as what happens to finances, what happens when you dissolve the company, how you get paid, how you distribute, how do you get additional money, what does it take to bring in other owners, and those are called bylaws. Next, what are the owners called? The owners are called shareholders. They own stock. Okay. Um, this and the stock represents the ownership interest in the company. An owner or shareholder could be a company, a corporation, LLC, or individual. Now, in Texas, you can have what's called a certificate or non-certificate. Certificate means you have a physical piece of paper, your stock agreement. You can have that, and that is your proof of the amount you have. But you can also have non-certificate. It's called book entry. Um, that's also, and so they take a electronic record of your ownership interest, and there's rules that govern how that's supposed to be tracked. Now, owners do not manage day-to-day operations at all. Now, directors are voted on by the shareholders. They oversee the corporation. They serve on the board of directors. A director can be a shareholder and vice versa. The minutes of shareholders or directors or agreements are 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 just like a meeting, but also you can, in certain instances, you can also have an agreement of action in lieu of physically meeting. A lot of times you can, in most states, you can meet virtually, especially in emergency, and when a lot of the disasters come, even before COVID, a lot of states change their rules to accommodate electronic notices and electronic meetings. Resolutions are written records formally approving a course of action. When you go to the bank, they want a resolution. Oftentimes, the bank has their resolution, but they want to know that there's an agreement by the shareholders or the directors that you're going to put your money in that bank. And there's also a resolution or a formal agreement on who has access to that money and when. Limited liability company is the same thing, but different language. And it's also easier to run. So for a limited liability company, we're now talking about the same certificate of formation, and that's what the bank wants to see when you open up account. And the certificate of filing, proof that you've actually filed it. The banks want to see that stamped copy of the certificate of formation. That is the document you use to file, whether you file it yourself or a lawyer files it. You can actually upload. You can mail it. Now the Secretary of State, that's where you file, has a special portal where non-lawyers can actually upload their formation documents. The governing documents. Now, this is very important. Corporations is called bylaws, but for a limited liability company, it's called company agreement. Texas is special. Most states call it operating agreement, but in Texas, it's called a company agreement. Okay. Just like for corporations, in Texas, you can have certificates or non-certificate ownership representation. Non-certificate is called book entry, and that's what they call it. Other states, it's called book entry. Um, Now, the ownership, people who own are called members versus shareholders, they call members. So I own membership interest. That means I'm an owner in the company. And that's what you call anyone who has a membership interest, percent interest in a limited liability company. They're called a member. Managers are just like in the scenario with the corporations, they run the day-to-day activity. Members do not. They elect managers, and the managers run the activity. Now, what's special about limited liability company or LLC, you can have two ways of creating an LLC. The LLC can be created as a member managed or manager managed. A member managed is more like the scenario of a corporation, and they elect or they assign or delegate duties to managers or officers. A manager manage, which sometimes if you have single member LLC, they are members and managers, and what it is they choose to just be silent partners, as another way of saying, and they have managers who may or may not be members. So a manager in a manager managed LLC does not have to be a owner or shareholder. The members can actually decide that they want to elect managers and they don't want to have anything to do with the company. But member managed actually run the day-to-day out. They have chosen to run the company and they represent and do all the work. And so you can have it two ways. Same rules apply with the minutes and resolutions. Um, it's definitely a formal action that's memorialized in minutes. It's called a resolution. Now, I just wanted, before we go into the financial part, I just wanted to point out some things that I've seen that are missing, little flags. Okay, very important that you even if you decide to go online or you use LegalZoom, which I have my own opinion about it, but a lot of people get the standard boilerplate documents, but there are certain things that are missing from those boilerplates that's why a lawyer or professional, even an accountant CPA can do this as well. You don't have to be a lawyer to put together these documents, but it'll be good because lawyers have seen a lot of documents. Business continuity clauses, okay? And I'm sorry, I didn't go to the next slide. Business continuity clauses. That means in your governing documents, if it's a bylaws or if it's company agreements, there's no clauses which discuss how to continue the business if something should happen to one of the members or managers or anything like that. Who has the ability to make decisions in a temporary sense? That leads to emergency clauses, which is if something happens that they need to communicate. So a disaster, whether the disaster is electronic, it's weather related, pandemic, or anything happening that is catastrophic. Those emergency clauses has provisions that actually create a scenario where a person who is not a manager or is not an owner temporarily has the right to call a meeting to create or to assign a manager, or has the permission based on that clause to do action until the emergency is over. And so there's business continuity when things happen, how you continue the business, who has the right to make decisions, and then there's the emergency clauses. Definitions. Sometimes, well, most of the time, the actual government doc does not have any definitions, and how things are defined. The words that you use have meaning. And so there needs to be a definition portion of it. Clear dissolution provisions. We're not going to get into this because I don't consider it really basic, but sometimes when you form joint venture agreements, those joint venture agreements can be created in an LLC. So you can create a new entity. It could be any, it could be a partnership or anything like that. But most people form a new LLC, create a whole new EIN number. But then they create things that are like intellectual property or some type of branding. And in the dissolution agreements, it's nothing that tells anyone who owns it or what happens to it. Upon dissolution, the actual intellectual property is destroyed, or no one can use it for 5 years, or it belongs to the person who has the majority of ownership interest. Whatever is decided, I see these documents with no clear definition of what to do upon dissolution. A dissolution means when you dissolve the company or when you end the company. Now I want to take some time. Well, you know what? Before I go there, are there any questions on that part? Because we're going into the next section, which talks about financial setup and business banking. And I'm going to just talk about a couple of things. It's just one slide. I'm going to have our guest, Nikki Pfizer, talk about Co-America and some of the things that they do. Dorita, you have a question? You can raise your hand, or if you want to ask a question in the chat, I have my staff members who will definitely field those questions if you're too shy to actually speak. Dorita?
Hi, Goodwill. No question. I just want to remind there are a few people with initials or just a first name only. Would you please put your full name, if you can, on your name, or send me a chat if you need support with that. But we want to make sure we have a clear list of who attended this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorita. Does anyone have any questions on what I talked about the about formation and the type of different corporate formation, the difference between a sole proprietor as and a corporation, an LLC, um, and all the different government documents? Yes, you will be. I know it's going to be even more. It's going to even be more. This is now we're not. It's only 20 slides, but it's really chock full of information. I didn't want this to be something that's just this is not an advertisement for me or anything else. This is some things that you need to understand. And sometimes I want to share some with you. And it's the same thing with mental health and a lot of things. Sometimes it's just hearing the words that define the things that you never thought of, and now you know it. So you're not going to come away from this knowing what the definition should be to be in a company agreement, but you know that there should be definitions, and you can actually talk to your professional just to find out what else you need to know. What is emergency agreement? So hearing these different things, resolutions, minutes, JVs, that allows you to the vocabulary to articulate things you don't know and the best way to understand or get to know it. Okay, so let's talk about the setup and financial setup and business banking. Before I get started, I would like to invite a special guest, a supporter of Success in Business and the PF Foundation. Her, as well as other CDFIs and other banks, will be present April 17th. They'll have an exhibit. They'll also be part of our workshops. I'd like to introduce to you and bring to the podium Miss Nikki Pfizer. Nikki?
Yes. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for having me. Like he said, again, my name is Nikki Pfizer. I am with Comerica Bank. I have 28 years of banking experience. I've been with Comerica for 17 years as of this past Monday. And I'm glad that you said what you said, Goodwill, so people are not overwhelmed with trying to be experts at this by the end of this call. But good news, though, I will share Comerica makes it a little bit more simpler because we do not require certificate of formation. We just require something we call certificate of good standing. And so we essentially will go to the Texas Comptroller, Texas Secretary of State. That's, of course, if you have organized in the state of Texas. For those of you, some I know have organized in other states like Delaware and what have you, but majority of you will organize your business either in Harris County, Fort Bend County, if you're talking about a sole proprietorship, where it's Nikki Pfizer, and this is an old DBA of mine, but anyway, Nikki Pfizer doing business as Billionaire Beauty, for example. That will be something that's filed in a county. However, we require typically just the certificate of good standing. And of course, we'll go on to Texas Secretary of State just to make sure that all of your documents are up to date and that you are still active and are able to legally operate the business. So there is that. One of the things I do want to, in addition to sharing that information, of course, whenever you go to any bank, making sure that you have your business documentations. Another thing that, of course, you're going to want to have is your EIN number or your EIN letter. I know with us, we don't necessarily, yay, Marcia, we don't necessarily require the EIN letter, but it's good to have so that you can make sure that you provide us with the right tax ID. We call it sometimes tax ID, sometimes EIN, that you provide us with the right number. The biggest thing I want you to walk away from here with is whichever way that you choose to organize, whether you choose to do LLC, corporation, or sole prop, which obviously if you are looking to scale up, he made a good point, you want to do LLC and or corporation, just to protect your own personal assets, of course. But whichever way, I encourage you definitely to, if you are in business and you take your business seriously, Don't just have a personal account that you're doing business out of. Definitely make sure that you get organized and that you um begin operating your business out of a business checking account for several reasons. Number one, it's another form of documentation that will help you to be what we call bank ready when you need to get access to capital in the form of lending, things of that nature. Of course, he's the expert when it comes to contracts, government contracts and things of that nature. I know some government contracts do like business owners to have some form of a line of credit in some cases and things of that nature. So of course, we want you to be best positioned in order to get those big contracts. And so you definitely want to be able to show the strength of your operating income coming into that business account. So that way you're able to track it. So it's not here, it's not there. You don't have it all over the place. It's in a bank account and ideally in your operating account. And then potentially you may have a separate account that may be your payroll account. So I think I covered a good high level overview. Is there anything else, Goodwill?
Yes, you know what I'm going to ask you to do
What's that?
to talk about, one of the things I learned a couple of weeks ago, Adrian, about, and I'm reminded that I need to get with you so they can be part of
Yeah.
Pathways to Prime, but about getting money. So
Yeah.
it's this is not a part of the business basics, but I'd be remiss if I don't take the opportunity to
Yeah.
point things out. So Adrian,
Yeah.
while Nikki talks about the special program that Co-America has, that will help many minority businesses and small businesses. Please think about the entity that Harris County has that do microloans. And I'm going to switch back to you. I hate to put you on the spot, so I'm going to give you time to kind of think about that, Adrian, or whoever is here from DEO that can think of that. But would you please be so kind as to talk about this, and I refer everyone to you about this, the
Thank you.
special program Co-America has,
Yeah.
that's really simple, that can Co-America. The reader constantly tells me to stop saying Co-America, and I'm sorry. That's a pet peeve, and I'll stop. Yes, Co-America,
Yeah, there you
Co-America.
go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jimmy. So please let's talk about that, Nikki, please.
Yeah, not a problem. So we call it CCAP. It's called Convenient Capital. And the benefit of that particular product is you can get it in the form of a line of credit, get it in the form of a term loan if you need to. But the beauty of it, I think that a lot of people like, is the fact that it does not require tax returns, income statements, balance sheets. Okay. The documentation that we look at will be bank statements. And so income coming into it. That's why it's so important that you do make sure that your income is coming into business account, but bank statements. And then of course, your very strong personal credit and or business credit that you would have, maybe business credit card, what have you. But it's a quick to market product. So essentially we apply in the morning on a Monday. We may have an answer Monday afternoon. And then we can close as soon as, that next day or 2 days from there. So it's like a 3-day process, typically at most on average, just depending on how quickly you can get to that computer and DocuSign. It's a 100% digital product that we offer. It does require time in business, and it does require that you be an existing account holder with Comerica, and we require at least 4 months in banking with Comerica. So awesome product. I have provided to Goodwill my one pager, so hopefully he can share it with this network. So in case you're interested in that, I would love to be a resource for you.
And correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
they require only a 670 credit score. Yes, some people struggle for that, but it's definitely, as a commercial bank, it definitely is not as high as the other banks. And so that's so it's doable. And then they take your 3 months of average and multiply by four of your gross receipts in any bank. So yes, you have to have a Co-America bank, but you may bank otherwhere in other places, or might have several bank accounts, and they'll take it and based upon that, they will provide you when they divide it by four. That will be your line of credit in the account. So that's something that's doable. If you need resources, if you need money, and I'm just excited about that, and they're support of the community. So thank you so much, Nikki Pfizer. Any last things you wanted to say?
That is it. And that's not the only product that we offer, but that is one of, our bread and butter, or at least my bread and butter in my area. So of course we have lots of other things that we're able to offer, just depending on what you're trying to do. Because of course that product maxes out at 100,000. So
I'm going to share your PowerPoint,
yeah,
your thing, but please, can you just either well, the reader
yeah,
can take it if you're not able to put it in the chat, but could you please provide your contact information for them? And we got more
doing it
people than
right
I thought
now.
was registered. We just went up to 26 people, and so that's great. So go ahead. Um, could you give your contact information?
Yes, I did. It's in the chat
Okay, great,
now.
great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Um, Adrian, would you by any chance have the name of the Harris County department that has micro loans for small businesses?
I do. So that's a part of our one of our divisions. It's our PP&I division. And so currently we have with the People Fund, we have loan opportunities that are available. And so I can provide you with the contact. I do believe we have reached out and they will be participating
Great,
in the event on the 17th. So
great,
but yeah,
great.
so yeah, we definitely want to encourage any small businesses that are interested to take a look into that. And with them, they can get loans between 5,000 up to 250,000 through this program that we're offering.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. So
No
now
problem.
um, so I'm gonna, so the only thing that I want to point out in the basic business basics, we are going to have a empowerment workshop, and so it's broken up to forums and empowerment workshops, and empowerment workshops being bankable, and we're going to talk about deep dive into how do you create or construct your business to be bankable. How can you grow into that? Most people just get the application and fill out and they fail and they go through that. But let's talk about how you get this. So we're going to have that conversation. But as it relates to just starting out, understanding different business structures, of course, that's what we talk about. But I'm in the wrong slide. Separate personal banking finances. Ms. Pfizer said that. I don't know who on this, what this means to people in this meeting, but I've seen it many times. Sometimes you got to do it out of necessity. You start with a DBA, then you actually get an LLC, but you don't change it to a business account versus a personal. What that does also is you can actually have an LLC or a C corp and do everything right, but because you're operating out of a personal bank account, they will pierce your corporate veil. Everyone heard that before but didn't know how to use that phrase. They will pierce your corporate, meaning that they will go through the protection that is supposed to be guaranteed by your corporate structure because you've operated it, in a manner that mingled your business activity with your personal funds. And so they will go after your personal funds just because you have a personal business account and you just combine things. So you buy milk out the account that you pay the business light bill with. That's a problem. So that's the thing. Track expenses using bookkeeping software. I started with Lotus 123, then I got to Excel, and now I use QuickBooks, and now I have a CPA. And so you can grow into it. You're not going to just bounce into being able to do that. Financial mismanagement causes 75% of small businesses failure. Even businesses like mine, have issues with 941s and things. What I want to just express to everyone on this is stop thinking you're the only one or that something is wrong or you have some type of disease because you get caught up in something. You'll be surprised from small businesses to large Fortune 500 businesses, the problems are still consistent. So the issues you have with finances, with paying bills, making payroll, 941 issues because you just have enough money to pay net and you don't have enough money to pay gross. And so you just pay the net and you say you're going to get back, and then one day leads to another. Everyone is having that problem. So stop thinking you're the only one. Reach out to help, a line of credit, work with some people to get things together. And there's ways to overcome it. It's the same issue with mental health. Don't think you're the only one. So before we go into the next topic, is there any questions concerning that or any questions you have for Ms. Pfizer? And because I have the presentation up, I can't see hands or I can't see any chat. So my team, please let me know if someone has a question in the chat or if they raise a hand.
Okay, Will, this is Adrian. I just wanted to let you know that I dropped the link to our website for the Harris County Opportunity Fund. So if anybody's interested in getting additional information, they can click on the link in the chat.
Thank you, Adrian. And I usually wait to the end. I'm going to say this now. Whenever you have someone who works for a government entity, same thing with a private entity, but government entity, and they don't have to be in this call. It's not like they're micromanaging or anything like that. That means they really care and they have a passion. So when they put things in the link or when they do things, and we're not going to talk about RFPs, RFQs now, but I have a little secret about that I'm going to share with everyone when we get to that. But that's very important. You need to recognize that they don't have to be here. And so please take advantage. One of the things that's so surprising is when entities have these programs and it's being under attack right now by lawsuits. It's amazing how many people don't apply. Really, because they think they don't get it, or they don't want to go through the process of applying, or they're just ashamed of their financial condition. Hey, apply, and then if something happens, actually seek a sit down and find out how you can do better next time. That's always best. So let's talk about tax ID, DUNS, and SAM registrations. And then I added something, text controller, but I see this all the time. So EIN, employee identification number required for tax reporting. You can get that on by going to irs.gov. You can actually do it electronically, or you can fill out what's called an SS4, and you can fax it in, mail it in, or you can have your tax preparer do it for you, or anyone. When we do LLCs or corporate creations for our clients, we do it for them. That's a number you use. It's not your social security number. It is 9 digits, but it's not your social security number, and you do require that. Um, um, DUNS number is essential for business credit and federal contracts. Not many people have a DUNS number, but when you register for SAM, which is the System for Award Management, I can't believe I knew that acronym. System for Award Management for the federal government, you get a DUNS number. You have to have a DUNS number attached to it, and that's like and so there's business credit and there's personal credit, and a DUNS number is for your business credit as well. And the more contracts you have, you're supposed to actually self-report that. And as you report your contracts and the contracts you get and the growth and the amounts of your contracts, your DUNS score increases. DUNS numbers also helps with regard to, I know when I do disparity studies for clients, it also is a way to kind of determine, the type of business that you're in the business function that you do, and where you are compared to other people in that same business function or scope of business. And so these are things that you can, get to. You don't have to. Oftentimes, when people search for things, they think that they're going to the done site. And I think when we have time, I might kind of go through that exercise with you online and let you see it. I've actually almost made a mistake, but because I caught it, I stopped. They'll go in and they say EIN, and they think they're in an IRS shop, but they're in a third party, and they're going to charge you to do an EIN. It doesn't cost any money to do an EIN. It doesn't cost any money to have a DUNS account, and it doesn't cost you any money to have a SAMS registration. Also, when you are doing business with the county now, it didn't used to be that way, but now it is, especially if they get federal funds, community development block grant funds, ARPA funds, any funds that come from the federal government or any federal department. They want to make sure that you have not been disbarred. And disbar means that you've done something, anything from not paying your staff for construction project weekly to misrepresenting to any type of failure on a contract that might cause disbarment. So now it's not a choice. So most projects, if it's not just totally funded by tax dollars locally, they have some federal component to it. And the first thing they do is ask for your SAMS registration, and you got to go through a debarment check in which they go through the system of award management and look to see if you if you haven't been barred, if you've been accused or you have some type of action against you. And so while you can try to avoid that by not completing your SAMS registration, you have to do it. And every year you have to renew it. A lot of people get stuck because and by the way, it happens to me. You just kind of forget, you get that little email that says, hey, it's time to renew your SAMS registration. And you just say, okay, I'm put that little yellow red flag on my Outlook. And next thing the year goes by and you forgot you had that flag because it's underneath all the other flags that you flagged. Okay. So you have to do that. The last thing I'm going to talk about from a registration perspective is your Texas controller and your office. So when you get your when you go ahead and file your LLC, it's automatically some type of signal is sent to the Texas Controller of Public Accounts. Okay, that's where you pay your taxes. It's no different from the Harris County tax assessor. And I should have that up too. I'm going to talk about that as well, because even I have concerns or issues with that. It's sometimes that you have to really do. So I am going to talk about that, although it's not on this slide. You get something from that, and I actually have that here, and I'm going to show it when we get to the end so you can see what it looks like. You get something in the mail that most people throw away. And that is not a joke. It's not fake. It's from the Texas Department of Public Controller of Public Accounts, and it has what's called an XT number. It also has your file number and your tax ID number from the state. You need that if you're going to file what's called your Public Information Report (PIR), and you file that with the Texas Controller of Public Accounts. You also have to file your franchise taxes. Now, last year, 2023, was the first time that if you had no franchise tax, you don't have to file a no tax due. Okay, you could just, before you had to at least file a no tax due, or else you'll be abandoned and you have to pay $51 to catch up. But you do have to keep up with your public information report, because your public information report is a report in which you disclose to the Texas Controller the office of your company, so that when there's an issue, they know how to find you and how to serve you with notice if someone wants to sue you, whether it's in state or out of state. So it's very important that you look out for that. Once again, in the question and answer period, when I finish the slides, I will then switch over and kind of show you example, because I put that in a demonstrative folder, so I can give you examples of what that is. And if you have questions, something like that, I can tell you, because you'll be surprised how many people have never seen this document and have never filed anything. And let me say something about being abandoned as well. The whole idea about why it's bad is, think about you birthing a child and you have to keep it fed, and you have to keep it alive. If you don't do what needs to be done and it abandons, then what that means is that if I file a lawsuit against you, or say for instance, if someone filed a lawsuit against my client, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Secretary of State to see if they are alive and see if they are active. If they are not, I'm going to be happy. Because if I file a lawsuit against your company and your company is dead, the company cannot do anything. It cannot file an answer. Now, the company can revive itself. It all depends on how long it's been dead. But the point is that if you are not active, you cannot act. It's literally, I hate to say this, literally like a person. So if you are not active, you're dead because you failed to file franchise reports or failed to file your public information report, then you cannot answer a lawsuit filed against you. You have to be an active company in order to participate in anything, definitely a lawsuit. Okay. And let me say another thing about taxes and business taxes. So another taxing entity is your local taxing entity. You have the property taxes, and your property taxes are real property, as well as your personal business property. A lot of presentations don't have this discussion, and I almost forgot it in this one. That issue, I think, is the issue that brings down many small businesses and large businesses, and it also prevents you from getting government contracts. You have to be up to date or not delinquent in your federal taxes, sometimes if it's federal dollars, but definitely in your taxes as it relates to Harris County or any other entity. And you can't get any grants if you're not. So in other words, if your firm or company is awarded a contract and you got by with any disclosure you have in that RFP, RFQ that requires you to disclose if you're up to date, and you own any business property taxes. So every year you get what's called a rendition. That is an estimate of what your business is, what the property of business used to make money. Your computers, your pens, your non-fungible items, the things you don't. So you might have inventory that you sell, but also the actual things you make money. And they give an estimate. And then during that rendition period of time, when you see that, you get to argue back and forth. Hey, I bought this computer 15 years ago. It is not worth $2,000. It's worth at the most 500. And you have to respond back to them. Then whatever you respond back to them, that is what the value of it, and then they tax you on that. You have to watch out because sometimes if you have multiple businesses operating at the same place, they tax you twice. These notes, and you can't have double taxation. So a lot of people overlook that. I have a CPA now, so they bug me about that. I often forget about it because sometimes people move, or they had a PO box and they move and they don't get it. And next thing you know, you come back a couple of years and all of a sudden, why do I have a $2,000 bill? That's because you have not paid 5 years of $200 bills. You know what I mean? And that's what happens. And so make sure you go. You can actually go to the Harris County Tax Assessor, um, and they're the ones to actually assess the tax. And the Harris County Tax Appraiser is the individual who evaluates the value of property, and then that valuation is multiplied by the tax rate, and then you come up with the actual number that is the bill that comes from the Harris County Tax Assessor. So you go to the Harris County Tax Assessor, put in your name if you don't know your company ID or your property ID. And so most people think the property tax is just your real property. Well, it is, but it's also your business property. And they also find out, unfortunately, by getting reports that is downloaded to them from the Texas Secretary of State. So the Texas Secretary of State downloads, they see you're in Harris County. Also, the tax assessor sees that, so they give it to the appraiser. The appraiser does what it does, appraises. They come around your business. They might knock on the door and pretend to be a client. They see what you have, and then they give that to the appraiser, the assessor, and the assessor taxes you for that entity. Okay? Any questions on that? I know that's not part of the slide, before I'll add it there. And also, you'll have copies of the video. Okay? Any questions?
I do have a question. Hi, this is Regina. And that's for every county like Harris, because I'm out in Montgomery. So I would just check like the Montgomery County tax assessor for
Yeah,
that.
everyone, yes. Every county has a tax assessor by state law. Um, Now I've been in I have clients in different counties, so sometimes getting it is different. Harris County, Montgomery County, Fort Bend County, they're very technologically, better than some other counties, 254 counties. And so you reminded me of something too that I'm going to say. So yes, you go to Montgomery County and you look for it. So it's better to look for it. So if you are a business, you've been in business for a little time and you do have your LLC and you've never gotten a rendition or anything like that, then there's a problem. Okay.
Okay.
There's a problem. So definitely look. The problem is you never got it or you forget about it. It's easy to forget. So that's the whole purpose of this Get Ready workshop. It's easy to forget, or just not think about it, especially if you've never received it. I have clients who have started their business and have never ever received a rendition or a business property tax bill. And you'll be surprised that they have a bill for $5,000. It is not up to, unfortunately, it is not the duty of the tax assessor to keep up with every time you move. So it's better to go ahead and disclose and find out, because especially if you're in this meeting and you've registered for the Pathways of Prime, either you have or you are interested in getting contracts with government entities, especially with Harris County. And so this is the time to go type in your name, type in your address, type in your business name, type in your name, and find out if you have anything and just pay it. If you have a payment plan, then you are not in violation.
And this would
Okay.
be solely for the business, right?
This is
Even if the
business.
business
Yeah.
is housed out
Yes.
of my home for the
Yes.
meantime.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, there is possibility that if you have a business out of your home or you're sole proprietor, that you may not have anything. DBAs that I'm going to talk about in a second, are also taxed because you're a business, but it's harder for the county to track that because you're a DBA. But when you get an LLC, and it's almost like, yes, all good things, kind of have its bad parts to it. That means you have flagged someone and, hey, I exist. I'm making money. Please tax me because I love to pay taxes. Not okay.
Right.
But that is the benefit. That is the benefit, and the burden of doing business. Death and taxes. So it's better to kind of find out what your status is than to go through all that problem being part of a team. And by the way, so yes, we all want to be primes, but that's really what it is where you get caught. Because what happens is you're a sub-consulting or subcontract. You're not required to disclose that. You're required to do the SAMS checks, of course, but you're not required to say that I have no issue with my taxes. They don't look for it. They look for the prime. And then something happens with regard to paying you something, and all of a sudden it's disclosed that, hey, you owe Harris County this money, or somebody, in the front of public who's doing a public information request, looking at all the different, especially if they find that you're a WBE or MBE and they have a problem with WBE or MBE programs and they want to just see, they'll just that's where the problem starts if you're a sub, really, because you really don't have a reason to even think about it. So it's better to look, find your status, clean it up. And if it costs too much money to clean it up, then go to the tax entity and, hey, I have an issue. I want to do a payment plan. I can only afford $200 a month, but I don't want to be out of compliance. I want to be in the portal as being compliant, and I'll just pay it off. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Any other questions? So that participant said something I want to point out, and that is DBAs and assumed businesses. Okay, you have assumed business or DBA as a sole proprietor, but you can also have assumed business and DBA as a LLC or a corporation. An assumed business or the first one is 254 counties. Okay, so unless you're going to put a DBA in every single county, then you do your DBA in the state of Texas, your assumed name certificate. But you can do a DBA with the Harris County clerk. Now, a DBA does not mean that you have a right to that name. It actually says it in the Business Commerce Code that doing a DBA does not mean that's the trademark. So someone can put an A, or someone could do something that is close to your name, and there's nothing you can do as it relates to that. So just be wary of that. Also, if you got a DBA and you sign it, you have to sign as president of Goodwill Pierre LLC doing business at, or Goodwill Pierre Pathways of Prime doing business as success to prime. Because if you hold yourself out to have a business that's not, that's not corporated, you kind of trying to fool people, then that's another way they'll pierce the corporate veil. You have to disclose how you're doing business as. And that's something a lot of people often, forget. Okay. It's a lot. We only have 4 more slides, but I promised you it'll be a business basics, and I'm a man of my word. So just be prepared to ask questions. This is exciting because I get all these questions about this, and what happens is people are often shy, and they feel like, oh my God, I don't want to embarrass myself by asking these basic questions as it relates to certifications. So this is not a certification workshop. We're actually going to have a one-on-one certification workshop that's by what is it called? Appointment only, because we only have a few limited spots. And then we're going to also have a lot of the certification entities, SBA for 8A, and everyone else going to be there in booths, and they're going to have a special workshop, empowerment workshop about it. This is a definitional slide, a definitional period, okay? To tell you what does all these mean, when do you use it? Because some people use DBE when they mean MBE and everything like that. And a lot of people get certified as an affinity business, as a means to an end, because they know that, hey, if I get certified, I get business, I want to do this. And so they don't read it or anything like that. I don't expect you to read it. Only nerds like me kind of read regulations. So let's go for it, okay? Now, why you get certified? Certification provides access to goal-oriented contracts, not set-asides, not quotas. It's goal-oriented contracts, meaning that they looked at the project, they assessed it, and they have a goal. And to level the playing field and increase participation otherwise non-utilized segment of our society of businesses. Okay, and that's why. So for Harris County, they did a disparity study. They found out that the amount of utilization of minority businesses, disadvantaged businesses, women-owned businesses, when compared to majority-owned businesses, had a gap, and that gap is called disparity. And the bigger that disparity, the more assumption could be made on historical um, 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 underutilization of minority businesses, women-owned businesses, and disadvantaged businesses. And with that, they formulated a goal-oriented program, a minority women affirmative action program, or DEI program. I know it's a bad word now, but I'm saying it, in order to level the playing field. Now, you can apply through city, state, or federal certified entities. And depending on where the money's coming from and what the project is, will determine what you do and what you apply. Now, it's not on this slide because I said it was not a certification workshop, but I am going to say this, that all of the certification affinity programs, and also the city of Houston has an LGBTQ affinity program certification as well. They are based upon 51% or more owned and controlled by that target affinity group. Okay, whether it's women owned, minority owned, disadvantaged owned. That's what it's programmed. So it's owned and controlled. The attack now, the new attack on these programs is not on the face of the program, meaning that disparity study, yes, you're not using uh, um, Black businesses, you're not using women-owned businesses. It's not. It is based upon how you define those people who are certified. And so in the DBE world, which is I'll talk about, that's local projects with federal funding. You are presumed socially disadvantaged if you are African American, if you are Hispanic, if you are a woman. And so the attack is based upon that presumption of social disadvantage. And so I'm not going to get into that because that's my passion, but I just want to mention that because a lot of people don't read the news, don't look at court documents like I do, but that's what's intact. And if you want to have a conversation with me after, just email me and I can have a whole workshop with that. And that's something I want to do anyway, but that's not part of this Pathways to Prime. So now let's talk about when they're used and what they mean. So local money for local projects, they're your local certifications. Local. So in other words, your for airports tenant improvement programs, your tax dollars, all the things that are local, have local money. Okay. That's where the utilization of minority business enterprise, women business enterprise, and then you get the certification, small business enterprise, and you get that certification through the local certifying entity. Now, you do have WBE certifications; those are affinity certifications, as well as MB certifications that are based upon private opportunities. And that's where you have your Houston Supply. I got the acronym wrong. Apologize. It's the HMSDC, Houston Minority Supply Development Council. And for WBE, my good friend, well, actually, both of them are good friend. Ingrid Robinson is the president of HMSDC. So don't tell I misspelled her acronym because that's embarrassing. And then Dr. April Day is president of the Women's Business Enterprise Alliance, which is part of WeBank. And those are traditionally for your shells and everything. They traditionally are not used for government. However, Harris County does recognize those certifications for their programming. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Adrian. And so that's what's exciting about Harris County. But once again, they're local dollars for local projects. Let's talk about DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. I hear that alphabet when I use that. They're for local projects using federal funding. So your community development block grants, your ARPA funding, your HUD funding, your EPA funding, Department of Transportation funding, airport improvement funding, street and roads funding, federal highway grants. Those are things that are provided to the government entity. And if you provide those money to the government entity is called a recipient. And then those companies or businesses working under that are called subrecipients. And so if they have a goal, those are typically DBE goals. Now, different, like I said, I don't want to get into the deepness of where it comes from and all that other stuff. This is just a definitional slide. But sometimes so for example, you have other affinity designations for housing. It's called Section 3. Section 3 is an economically based affinity program that does the same thing to narrow the playing field and to create capacity, improve. And you have Section 3 workers and Section 3 businesses. And so those are goal-oriented opportunities on those projects that are funded by the Housing and Urban Development. And so I just threw that in there, but like I said, I didn't want to get that deep. So you have hub zone, oh no, not hub zone, excuse me, hub, which is historically underutilized business, not to be confused with the federal hub zone, which is geographically orientated. You have hub, and those are state projects or local projects funded by the state. And you have to be a resident of that state, and most states have hub programs, even though those are being under attack, believe it or not. Then finally, your 8A federal projects with federal money. Now, within that 8A, which I believe they've been scrubbed, but until I hear otherwise, you have your woman-owned business or your those are under attack. But the 8A program is still intact right now, and that is federal project with federal money. And so you don't use an 8A certification to get a Harris County project. Okay, that's government, because the Harris County project, while funded by the government, is a local project. So if I'm doing business with the FDIC, or I'm doing business on a military base, or things of that nature, the 8A is what comes in. Any questions?
Real quick, Goodwill, we do recognize the 8A as one of the certifications for Harris County as well.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and that's for
Wild, but
locally,
outstanding.
federally funded. Yes.
What'd you say?
Local or federally funded contracts.
Okay, that's great.
Yes.
So the last business slide is just briefly about trademark. Now, I have a whole workshop on trademark intellectual property law. I'm a licensed patent attorney. I'm that guy. I'm that nerd. So this is not meant to be an in-depth about trademark. In fact, I have my trademark attorneys on the line right now, Natalia and Jasmine. This is just letting you know what it is and how important it is, and what and here's going to kind of mess you up, how important it is in the government contracting realm. Okay, so basic: prevents others from using your brand name or logo, strengthens brand recognition and credibility. Check availability on the United States Patent and Trademark Office by going to uspto.gov. The filing cost is $350 per class. What is a class? A class is a stream of commerce in which you want to do that protection. So Nike, for example, okay? Nike has a brick and mortar store, and that is a class. Okay, that is a class, has a class number, international class. They also sell apparel. That's class 35. I happen to know that, okay? They sell apparel, the shoes, the socks, and sneakers and everything like that. They also have training camps. They also have sports equipment. They also do retail sales. That's class 25. And so that's different things, different classes. And in each class that you want the protection in, you have to pay the government $350. And then that does include attorney's fees if you hire an attorney. You would hire an attorney because in filing it, as well as in responding to what's called office action, that's official action by the trademark office denying your request for a trademark registration because of something either illegal, which is objection, or something mechanical in your structure, which is a rejection. Now, why am I bringing up trademark as a basic thing when talking about pathways of crime and everything of that nature? You will not believe. So before I was on my own, I was director of small business development in Houston Airport System, and I've had the blessing of being part of those RFPs, which stands for request for proposal. We have I think next week. On April 9th, DEO has its workshop in which they're going to define that as it relates to Harris County because different government entities use the different acronyms differently. They sometimes request for quotes is not request for qualification. So I'm excited about that April 9th. So you definitely don't want to miss that. But I've been on what's called request for qualifications, and you would not believe how many businesses have gotten lower scores because of the confusion with a business who may have had a contract and did poorly. Okay. Um, in the grant world, now I will tell you, we just got past the certification thing. I just want to throw this out. 501c3s, nonprofits, trade entities, anything that's a 501 part, they cannot be certified. They cannot be certified in an affinity program. They just can't. But from a grant perspective, the same rules apply. If you're competing for something, when you get a trademark, just like a patent, it doesn't give you a license to do something because if you get a patent to make drugs, making drugs is illegal. So although you can have a patent to do that, if you don't have the authority to do it, you're stopped by law. But it gives you the right to stop other people from using your mark or using your invention or thing. So in trademark, it gives you the right to stop people from using what's called a confusingly similar mark or brand. So when you have a name for your business, it's best not to have a common name. Because one, you can't trademark a common name, but then it doesn't distinguish you from another person. So a name, what is the name? Apex, Apex Roofing. Well, there's 1,000 Apex. Okay, so it's best not to do that. And if you have a name, yes, you have a DBA, you have a LLC, but having that does not protect your brand. Now, there's common law trademarking, and then there's the registered trademarking. The registered trademarking is when you pay the trademark office, it gives notice to everyone, even though it is not direct notice. It's just like filing something in the Harris County clerk when you have a house. Once the fact that it's filed is notice that you had done it first. And it's up to them to prove that they had the name before you. Okay, it's rebuttable presumption. You can get a trademark with the state of Texas, a state trademark. Same thing applies. I recommend federal trademark. It covers all the states. And if you have a business that's unique, that is hot, and and people kind of because sometimes the difference between two businesses that does the same thing is the sexiness in his name or what the name conveys or the history of that name and how well that name is respected in the marketplace. So I take a point of personal privilege to emphasize whenever I do these basic workshops to emphasize because many small businesses and may I add many minority businesses and women-owned businesses, going through the unequal playing field is hard enough to think about trademarking. Now I gotta find money to trademark. Okay. Yes, it's a well-known business. I'm not gonna say the name, but it's in River Oaks, one of my client, and that they did work for the Queen of England and everyone else. They were on a TV show. Someone found them, heard it in California. They went business about 20 years, and they decided to use the same mark, but just put a different, the word and, thinking it was different. Okay. It cost more money to stop them than it did for them if they got a trademark the first time. Just sent the cease and desist letter. So I'll stop there. It's 7:12. Time goes by fast. I want to, before I get to questions, I want to just put up the other Get Ready workshops. I just love that. Yes, I spelled it right because that's the way I wanted to spell Get Ready. Not two words, but one. Get Ready. And week 2 is a final prep for Pathways to Prime. So that is designed to and except for an event that I did when I was over Government Procurement Connections, I have not seen and I'm so thankful for DEO to allow me to do this. I've not seen a program where you're going to do a pre-workshop to get you ready. You know what I mean? Why is it good to come when you meet with a person to send a actual postcard versus email because they get 1,000 emails. How should you word it? You know what I mean? How do you position your elevator pitch? How to incorporate AI in creating your elevator pitch. And and all sorts of things like nature. How to get ready for Pathways to Prime. What do you expect when you get to Pathways to Prime? And how can you get the best out of Pathways to Prime on April 17th? And then, of course, government procurement basics. The great Department of Equity and Economic Opportunity is going to host that to kind of break down things so that when you get to Pathways of Prime, you're not trying to figure out what this means and what that means and what department does what. They're going to talk about all the intricacies of the different departments and where things go and everything like that. So when you get to Pathways of Prime, you got to go to, precinct 1 commissioner because they have their own public works department and things of that nature that may not necessarily be part of the basic thing. All kinds of nifty tricks and everything like that to master the maze. So I'm just excited. And just to refresh your recollection, so you can tell your friends and your family and the people you don't like either, because you should be nice. Register for Pathways to Prime, April 17th, powered by Harris County Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity. And I reverse those words and mix it up every time, so I apologize, Adrian. And that is on April 17th from 9 to 4. We're going to be at the Harris County Department of Education. There's going to be food. Our keynote speaker has been announced. Is going to be the president and founder of the Breakfast Club, Mr. Marcus Davis. And we're going to have other special guests for you as well. So with that, any questions? And by the way, not just on what I talked about, but any questions on anything in general as it relates to business?
Goodwill, I also put the survey link back in the chat again. If you would give your feedback on the workshop this evening, that goes straight to Harris County. We would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. So if you love me, if you care about me, please don't let me have to chase you to do a survey. Other organizations doing other aspects of Pathway to Prime, and they do it real time. But this is something because I decided to do Get Ready workshops. We have to incorporate a survey for an evaluation perspective, and it actually goes into their assurances to validate the fact that they received the money and what the money was used for. It's very important that you fill out those survey, and it doesn't go to me; it goes directly to Harris County DEO. So if you can, please fill it out. If you haven't got it, please raise your hand and we'll make sure you get it to. And please, that's everyone, including my staff. Whoever is in this meeting, please fill out the survey.
Gary has his hand up.
Hey Gary, how can I help you?
Doing great. Hey,
And why
great
don't you tell
presentation.
and Gary, why don't you tell us your business as well? And in fact, if those who will remain on the call, please, I want to have a time after Gary asks his questions. If everyone could just introduce themselves and tell us the business you're in, because one of the things that people often miss is the possibility of doing business with each other. And we don't want to even lose that opportunity to introduce yourself to other people or the possibility to join together and do some things. So Gary, I apologize. What is your question?
Great. I'll start with the question first. On the survey that you had the link to on the I guess one of the pages, it asks select the date you started the course and select that you completed the course. Now, is this a 4-week course?
No,
completion date or what?
That's a great question, and we're sort of untraditional. So the answer to that, unless Adrian has a different answer, will be today and today.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and secondly, my name is Gary Robinson. I'm one of the managing directors for MTCO Services. We provide, fence installation, sheetrock, interior, a lot of general contracting type of work. We're Hub certified as well as just got our SBE approval with Metro on Monday.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. And so I'm looking at starting some bids and hopefully even providing quotes for those 50,000 and under type projects they have going. So yeah, thank you for having me, and I look forward to continuing on this training with you guys.
Thank you. And he said 50,000. Well, really, it should be 49,999, but I'm not going to go there. But those are buzzwords. And like I said, I can talk forever, but I need to go to the next question, and that's Regina Valdez Castro.
Hey, Goodwill, let me get you to stop screen share so that we can clear
Of
that.
course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Regina?
Hi. Yes, Regina, with Southern Landscaping and more. We were just awarded the MBE and the WBE certification.
Congratulations.
Thank you, about 2 weeks ago. I know you mentioned earlier that you will offer like one-on-one kind of training on how to like you utilize those certifications and bidding and things like that. Will those invitations, are they selected? Is it something that you're going to push out that we can register for, or?
That's a great question because how I said it was sort of confusing. So that wouldn't apply to you because you already got certified. One of the things, so it's a one-on-one certification that will be the fifth time that we've done it. We did it at an event for Missouri City that we did last year. It was very, very productive. Whereas most people, when they start the process, and I don't know what your experience was, but it's very strenuous mentally. And especially when you're trying to balance filling out the paperwork and operating your business. And so what the Office of Business Opportunity has done, and like I said, when we did it, was the third time they did it. It is to do all day. So while we're doing the regular workshop all day, and everyone who is not certified come in, and they'll get a checklist beforehand. And Dorita is actually the point person on that, along with Vanessa Aplon at the city. And invitation will go out, and then you come in, and then I'll have my attorneys there to help with notary, printers, computer. You bring a computer, kind of, and you do your certification package that day, rooter to tutor. You get to find out what's wrong, and if you have everything, and you can just push send, you pretty much know that your thing is going to be approved. Or you'll know you have. So that's what that means.
Okay.
However, however, we will have a workshop that's called "I'm Certified Now What." and
Mhm.
then and then what I'm going to also do, and what I often do, while it may not be within this realm, it's something I did. I kind of like a game, a joke. I did it when I did this program, not through Pathways of Pride, but I did it when I did a an event for Harris County last year.
Mhm.
People just gave something general, and I kind of told them how they can get business. I say, hey, I all I do, I just you know have Gatorade. What I do? Well, every construction project has to have, by OSHA, has to have a refreshment station, and so you can get a bunch of Gatorade, go to corner. I just came up with ways that we
With
hey, you can do
ideas.
this. Or someone had a warehouse that was empty. He said, well, you know what? Every time someone does something at the airport, and you're certified, they when they rent that space from you, it counts toward their goal. And so you can actually have that space as long as it's less than 5 miles from the airport, and you can actually get business, and your certification would benefit you because that would be a unique way in which they can find utilization, as long as a commercial useful function, to actually utilize you. And so there's untraditional things and ways in which people can do. Now, from a landscape perspective, you are so hot because every housing project, building project, every aspect of it needs um that type of services. And you're in a unique situation where it's needed even more. And we can talk about that offline.
Okay. Yeah, I would like that to talk
Okay.
offline.
Just email me, reach out to me, and I'm available. Everyone here, as part of this, as part of the extended benefit of DEO having the wisdom to retain me to do this, you always eligible for one-on-one free conversations and talk for up to an hour to just kind of bounce ideas and help you master the maze for whatever you have, and you still do surveys. It's almost like a workshop. So we have three. But in between that time, you always reach out to me, and so definitely email me, Dorita, and or reply back to the thing that you received to announce this, and let's set it up. Okay.
And
Thank you,
the
Dorita.
only advice that I could give if anybody has not gone through the certification is take time and be organized, because my
Right.
certificate, I think it took me maybe a month and a half to get certified. They only came back with one question that they needed to know, but everything else was kind of in order. So if quiet space, that's all I can say. Because it is strenuous and it is hard on the mind to have to fill out every question and know where exactly the information's coming from.
Right. That's good advice. I would like to throw another advice certification as well. Yes, I'll send the information over. Is that when you get certified, when you're trying to get certified, most people have several jobs and things, and so you have to look at it from the eyes of they're trying to make sure that you're not a pass-through company, that you're actually doing a commercially useful function, that you are a legitimate business. They're not evaluating you on your ability to do the business. They're evaluating you if you're in a legitimate business. So some things in the real world doesn't apply to the certification world. So while many people in the non-certified real world may have own several business and things, you can't say that you have a landscaping business, but you have a full-time job, and or you can just be part-time or whatever, just say it. So you have to actually represent what you're doing and how long you're doing it as a legitimate business. That's all I say. Don't lie, but you just have to be aware of that. You can't just say, hey, I work 9 to 5 at Harris County DEO, but yet I have a full-time electrical business. You don't want to get certified. It's not going to happen. Any other questions? Thank you, Elizabeth. I look forward to seeing you soon as well, and for the next workshop. Don't forget to register for the next workshop. Any other business? And I'm glad that people are staying on to the end. Any other questions? Thank you to my staff also for being on. Dorita, you have your hand up again.
No, I was going to say that, just reminding people to fill out the survey, and that you'll be able to come back. Everyone registered. So if you know of other people that they would be interested in this, make sure they get registered for Pathways to Prime for April 17th, and then they'll be able to attend these as well. And on that day, we will have sessions that will, some sessions will have Spanish interpretation as well.
Yes, yes. For anyone on this, and I should ask that before, limited English proficiency doesn't mean you don't understand English, but it's just limited. Not only do we have Spanish, and so when you turn the survey, you have to indicate that. Don't be ashamed, don't be afraid. But we also have real live, Spanish, translation, real time when we get there. Now, I have a person who's raised a hand, and it's AK. So you're the person Dorita was talking about with you have those
I got it.
initials.
Yeah, and I got that resolved.
Okay, but they have their hand raised, so you can talk AK. AK,
Well,
is your
I'm
last name 47 or what?
48 actually,
Okay.
so it's actually AK like okay, because I do get that a lot. So it's AK like okay.
Okay, go
Thank you
for it.
for all the information that you provided. It was very informative.
I'm
So
glad.
that was just a comment that I was going to leave and ask you to have a good day, because I was filling out the survey as you guys was talking. But you get a 5-star plus. I really I might as well tell you what I said on the survey. I was kind of thinking that this was gonna be like a basic, the basic of our businesses, and I was gonna be bored. But I mean, you made it very informative on a basic level. You provided information that was needed, or you unconfused some things. So again,
Well,
thank you.
thank you. That my wife will be surprised. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate your participation. And I look forward to seeing you on the 17th. And please tell your friends. We have 189, but when you take out the duplicates, it's like 150 people. And so please send it. We're trying to get 400 people there. I think 700 people should be registered. And I know at the end people wait to the last minute, but definitely tell your friends. You'll be remiss in the fact that Harris County is providing this opportunity, and you cannot believe what they're going through to even do it. Please, please, please tell your friends. It's free, and it's going to be free food, free breakfast and lunch, a dynamic speaker. It's going to be a DJ. We're going to party and have fun. Fun, 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 and fun. Okay?
Sounds
Gary, you have another
good.
question?
I'm gonna email
Oh, sorry.
you. I'm gonna
Thank you.
email you and thank you, and y'all have a great night.
Be blessed. Thank you. Be safe. Gary, do you have another question? Okay, Gary gone. Anybody have any other questions? Okay. Adrian, if you're still online, any closing comments or remarks? Or anybody who is in DEO, any closing comments or remarks?
Just yeah, it was a great course. I'm glad we got to attend, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you so much. Dorita or anyone else from my staff. Thank you, Allah, Jasim, Miracle Cooper, Candace. These three young ladies are on a government contract at the airport. And so, I was always like that. So they actually are working, and they worked all day, and they take the time out now to actually be in this meeting to help me out. So thank you, Allah, Miracle, and Candace. You guys are dismissed because I know you're tired. And Natalia, one of my lawyers, thank you so much for being here. And Dorita, thank you so much. Thank you also, Dami, for being here. So knowing the questions, that would be,
Hello.
hi, you have a question?
Hi, my name is Deshara Goss. Hi, Dorita.
Hi,
Um,
Deshara.
Hey, Deshara.
hi. Hi, Goodwill. We've met a few times. I do a lot of work in the Fifth Ward area with our community development groups, local nonprofits, things like that.
Awesome.
I have really enjoyed this conversation because a part of some of the work that we're looking at doing in our neighborhood is thinking about making sure that some of our small businesses know and are aware of the certifications that they need to get larger contracts. We have a lot of course, we have a lot of construction groups that we work with, a lot of disaster recovery groups that we work with, small minority owned businesses, and just being able to assist them and share information that you guys have shared today is going to be monumental in their growth. And so I definitely will be pushing out the next few sessions and the event on April 17th, making sure that we're getting more of the businesses that are on the northeast, Fifth Ward, Kashmir, a lot on that side, to participate and attend, because this was great, and it's a lot of information that they definitely need to learn and be aware of. So thank you.
So thank you so much. And so I'm going to throw some things out at you. And Dorita, please back me up with this. So we have a media event that's happening on the 8th of April. It's a live podcast. Dorita could tell you the location. It's a live studio audience. Where definitely everyone in this meeting is invited. We're going to talk about pathways to prime. But also it's an opportunity for your businesses that you connect with to be there and meet other businesses, and also find out more about what we're doing, and what the EO is doing as well. In addition, if you have any format that would be conducive for me to talk about this, or that will help you, and you want to organize it between now, please let Dorita, let myself know, and then we can create another opportunity for us to speak. Finally, on tomorrow, I'm in an organization called National Forum for Black Public Administrators, and one of the things that I tell businesses is, be involved in your chamber, be involved in other entities that may not necessarily feel like it's a good mix. The National Forum of Black Public Administrators, and and other organizations like that, they represent individuals who are in the decision making arena, who look at those responses to RFPs and bids and all that other stuff. And when you formulate relationships, okay, that increases your brand recognition and awareness. So you respond to RFP, they have your business out there, they've seen you 5 times because they see what you do in the community. That's an extra point over someone else. These are little nitpicks, little hints that helps distinguish and separates you from your competitor. And so, I'm being sworn in as first vice president. It's going to be at the Post Houston tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And it's free. And definitely that's something you could take advantage of, to get to know. So, definitely with businesses, law and businesses, things of that nature, connecting with those individuals who work for the Harris County and the city of Houston and everyone else is a way you can build relationships, and then leveraging those relationships based upon brand awareness and recognition of the products you sell, as well as the person you are. People want to work with people they like.
Yes. Wow. Thank you for that. I definitely am excited for those invitations. So you will see me tomorrow,
Thank
and
you.
for sure the next few weeks. So thank you for that.
Okay, last pub, Pathways to Prime, Harris County Pathways to Prime. It is going to be ran by Success in Business. It is powered by the Harris County Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity. It is taking place October 17th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Harris County Department of Education, 6300 Irvington Boulevard, Houston, Texas 77022. It is free, available, and open to everyone. Okay, everyone. You'll have all kinds of opportunities, and soon we will publish the agenda. And I look forward to seeing you there. Tell your friends, tell your family, and thank you. And I
Oh,
wish you success in business. One more question, Dorita?
it's the post at what time?
Oh, at 6 p.m. on tomorrow.
Okay,
The Post Houston on Franklin. I think it's 606 Franklin or something like that. Yes.
not the old post office.
Yes, the old post office.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's it. I don't see any more.
Thank you. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, team. And I look forward
Sorry,
to
I'm
us.
sorry. Real quick, what is the time for the trending Tuesday?
Oh,
6 o'clock, same time. I believe they start. They have free food and dinner, and I think the actual podcast starts at 7, for an hour.
Okay.
and Adrian,
Okay. Thank you.
we're gonna send someone inviting you and Maya to that as well. We just confirmed that yesterday. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Have a good
Good
evening. Be
night.
safe, everyone. I look
Nice
forward
to
to
see you,
seeing you
Regina.
next
Thank
week.
you.
Bye bye.
Hang on, Goodwill.
We're gonna wrap around because it's still recording until I end it.
Just one moment. Oh, organizers can remain in the green room until they're ready to leave.
I'm gonna stop the recording.